Hi, welcome to Dave and the Run. Today we're going to talk about the Adidas Boston 11 running shoe. So this is the upgrade from the Boston 10 running shoe. There's a few changes to this shoe as opposed to the last. I'll talk about some of those changes and what my general feel is in the shoe. So let's talk about the product description. So there isn't much of a change really from the first iteration of the shoe, but I'll kind of take you through some of the changes that I've seen that they've actually made. The first major change for me is actually they're using a mesh upper, a breathable mesh upper, which is there. So this was actually breathable in the first iteration, but you notice that they've actually taken it back all the way to the back. So this was actually more of a, it felt like a bit of a plastic overlay feeling. So that's the first major change, the actual mesh upper. The second one is the Boston 10 had full suede running all the way around, and this one they've cut away at some of the suede. And what you notice is that actually it just creates more of an airflow running through the shoe. The back, the Boston 10 had a lot more padding in the back, but you'll notice that with this Boston 11 they stripped away at all of that padding. They've got two padded sections on the inside of the shoe that run on the inside of the shoe, but essentially the padding that was all the way, the thick padding is actually gone, and they've got this, obviously this pull tab that you can use to get your feet into the shoe. So that's some of the differences in the shoe. So midsole, and essentially is exactly the same. It's the Light Strike Pro. If you can look at it, there's a slightly different color. You get Light Strike Pro, which is a softer, responsive material, and you get the harder wearing EVA Light Strike, which is actually beneath that. So that's the actual two layers of this midsole. And you notice that, and you'll feel this in the shoe. As you run on your forefoot, you get a lot more Light Strike Pro on your forefoot as opposed to your heel. So you really do feel that with this shoe. So that's the next point of the product. And then the last point that I want to just, or last 2 points, is they've got the energy rods, which are actually underneath, and it's not a carbon rod. It's a these are just like carbon composite rods, so more like a plastic type of rod. And I'll talk a little bit about what that actually does in terms of the shoe and the feel. Some of the positives of the shoe. Positives of the shoe is it's made to be a shoe that is essentially the training partner or training companion partner to the Adidas Pro series. And I can see why they wanted to do that, because you need your daily trainer. So this would be your daily trainer that you'd use for that type of shoe. Positives: when you're working, and specifically when you're on your forefoot running forward, feels great. Great shoe, works well. You feel the responsiveness. You actually feel the responsiveness of the energy rods, so it works really well. Heels, really like the shoe for heels. You're allowed to get that higher cadence, that higher turnover. So I found that for me, I'm more of a cadence runner than a stride runner. And I had a suspicion actually with these types of shoes, and actually most Adidas shoes, I find that you can actually pick up the cadence and really work at that cadence if you want to, work at a faster turnover. So really good for that. I've done some tempo work, really great for tempo work, holding decent paces. So, I've really taken it through to those types of runs, and it really works for me. So those are some of the positives. I do like Light Strike Pro, and I do believe that in some of the other versions like the Pro series and the Prime X series as well, it's basically full Light Strike Pro. So I can just imagine how good that would be on a run or a long run, because you feel the responsiveness in that Light Strike Pro. I'd like to go on to the negatives. On a negative side, my biggest gripe, and even with the Boston 10, has been the forefoot lockdown. So this forefoot lockdown, I've tried different ways of lacing it. I've tried all sorts of different things in terms of trying to get my foot to feel more comfortable. I only really feel comfortable after 5 minutes of running, that my foot is actually now set into the shoe. So I don't know what it is. I get a feeling it might be, it's like a boot's construction, and I got a feeling the elastic part of the shoe is just really too tight, and maybe it loosens up over time. Time will tell, I don't know. So essentially I just felt that it was really pulling tight on my over the top of my foot. And so that's one gripe that I had with this shoe. I would imagine some people might have more narrow feet or whatever it might be, but that's just something that was a gripe for me, and I just could not get, it just really was uncomfortable at first. So I tried different types of socks and all these kinds of things. The thinner the socks I found obviously better, the thicker the socks, not so good, but just for me, I didn't like the lockdown. And then one other gripe is really these laces. I just think, Adidas, please can you give more laces with these shoes? I saw the Boston 10 as well, there just weren't enough laces, and I don't really feel like wanting to go and find laces and put laces on a shoe. So yeah, I felt the laces were quite short. And then one thing that was a little bit of a bugbear was this, in the heel, they've got a carbon, almost like a heel insert. And I just felt it, after about say 10 Ks or so, started to feel that actually I can feel this underneath the heel. So that's one part that I just didn't really like, and I don't think you need it in this shoe. I think it doesn't feel like an unbalanced shoe. So it doesn't feel like shoes where it's going to wobble or anything in the heel. If you look at the base, it's quite a wide base, quite a wide heel section, so you never ever feel like you need to overcompensate in any way. And so yeah, those are some of the negatives of the shoe. Okay, so overall, I think a lot of people were disappointed with these shoes when they first came out, and I think the disappointment was one of people thought it was a racing flat. But everything that I've read up about the shoe and everything that I've experienced in running in the shoe, it's actually more of a training shoe, a daily trainer. And a daily trainer that you would specifically use for tempo work. So if you're looking for a shoe that you can use for tempo work and potentially go out and do a fast 5 or a fast 10, you could use this shoe. This shoe would be used. Would it be something that I would go and snap up and say, I'm going to use this to train for a distance run, do a 20 or something? I'm not sure if this would be the one that I would use for that. I would use this for my midweek 10Ks, even up to your 15 training. This would be a good shoe. Also, I did a park run in the shoe, felt really good. Was able to get onto my forefoot and run really hard. And so this is also a great shoe for that as well. This is Dave. See you on the run.